Good morning, everyone. We are now in the 17th chapter of the book of Jeremiah, and we're going to be reading through 5 verses, verses 5 through 10. And it begins, "Thus says the Lord, Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his strength, whose heart departs from the Lord. For he shall be like a shrub in the desert, and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land which is not inhabited. Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, and whose hope is the Lord. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when heat comes, but its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. The heart is deceitful above all things, and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways, and according to the fruit of his doings." Sometimes we ask God, "Lord, just tell me what to do." And many times when we're seeking God in that way, we seem to be asking a very, very specific question. And not all of those answers can be found in the Bible. If you're saying, "Lord, should I buy car A or car B?" you may not find a verse that tells you specifically which car to buy, although as you pray, God does lead us in those situations. But here in this chapter, God gives us very definite directions on what to do and what not to do. He said, "Cursed is the man who trusts in man." So don't put your faith in a man or in the strength of men, because a man is unstable and his strength is limited. When we do that, our heart is departing from the Lord, and we will not be in the place which we desire to be when we do that. When we trust in people, we think we're going to get something good, but in the end, what do we get? We get a parched place in the wilderness. We won't see when good comes. We're just going to be in a land that's salty and not inhabited, a place where nothing can grow. The opposite of that is what we should do. Happy or blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord and whose hope is the Lord. So we not only trust in him, but our hope is him. He is everything. He's the focal point of our whole life, our desires, our plans, our purpose. He is everything. For that man will be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and will not fear when the heat comes, but its leaf will be green, and will not be anxious in the year of drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. Trusting in the Lord leads to a good end, but it doesn't lead to an existence without difficulty. He says you're going to be like a tree, but a tree planted in the right spot, right by the waters, and you're always going to have a supply. When the heat comes, and the heat comes in the life of those who trust God, you don't have to be afraid, because you're by the rivers of living water. And your leaf is going to stay green. The life of the water is going to keep life flowing in you. And when there's drought and there's no rain and everything else is dying, you don't have to be worried. And your life will still be fruitful. So even in the most difficult of circumstances, it can be a life without fear, a life without anxiety, a life with purpose that yields fruit pleasing unto God. Now the Lord continues and says, "The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it?" This is one of those reasons why we shouldn't trust man. Because the heart of man, unregenerated, without God taking over, is deceitful. That means it's a lying heart and desperately wicked. If you're going to trust in someone who's deceitful, what can you expect from that? Not a good end. If you trust in someone who's desperately wicked, what can you expect? Not good from that situation. When we talk about trusting in man, it doesn't just mean our fellow man, it also means trusting in ourselves. Because if we are trusting in ourselves to do it, or our strength to do it, we are deceiving ourselves, our heart is deceitful, and we're wicked because we're turning our back upon the God who is good and who loves us. Recognizing that our heart apart from God, or the heart of man, is deceitful and wicked is so very important. If we believe that man is basically good on his own and learns to be bad, then we can try to correct the environment of man so that he will not be corrupted. Therefore, if a man goes astray in his life and commits a murder or does other heinous things, if we believe that he was good and went bad, we're going to try to figure out why did he go bad and correct that so that man would remain good. And we're going to waste a lot of time and a lot of energy because we're asking the wrong question or we're starting from the wrong premise. The Bible tells us that the heart of man, apart from Christ, is deceitful and wicked. So our expectation for people should be deceitful and wicked. Man is born deceitful and wicked and needs to learn about goodness and righteousness. Therefore, we don't have to look at a person and say, why did this one go bad? But rather we should look at people and say, why do these people do right? And if we really get to the heart of that matter, it's because godliness was taught to them. And if we stop teaching godliness, we will have more of what is natural, and that's deceitfulness and wickedness. And I believe that our society and the day that we live bears that out. We stop teaching the oracles of God, and we now have a society that is becoming more and more wicked as it progresses. Who could understand these things? Who could know the heart? God says, I know it. I search it out. I test the mind, and I give to every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. All of us will be judged. God says he searches out the heart, he tests the mind, and that he will give to every man according to his ways. Now, if we try to stand on our own merit, we will fall short. And when we fall short, we will receive the fruit of that sin, which is death. But when we turn to Jesus Christ, God wipes that slate clean because he gives us the righteousness of Jesus Christ. And he puts on Christ our sin, and that's why Jesus had to die on the cross for the penalty of that sin. And therefore, God could look at a man and reward his ways and give him according to the fruits of his doings. For the believer, that's going to be goodness, because we're not standing there justified by our actions, but by the goodness of Jesus Christ. So if you want to know what to do, don't trust in any man, including yourself, but trust only in God. And when you do, you don't have to be afraid when the heat comes down. You don't have to be anxious in the drought. And you can be confident that your life will yield much fruit to the glory of God. Have a great day, guys. Bye.